All right. First item on the agenda is the acceptance of Canvas election results, which I believe we will review to some degree.
Yes, and you have those at your seat, the official certificate of results from the suburban Cook County Clerk's Office. Thank you, sorry. So you have the official certificate of results at your seat. You can see the vote count in the chart at the top, and you can see where Cook County Clerk Karen Yarbrough on April 27th, 2021 stated, "This election having been certified to me as 4 to be elected results in Gina Faso, Gregory Scapalato, Anisha Ismail Patel, and Richard Olanichek being elected. Below is the abstract of votes by precinct, dated this April 27th, signed Karen A. Yarbrough, Cook County Clerk."
Okay, thank you, Gloria. I think we actually have a recommended motion for this, do we not?
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes, Scott?
I move that the Board of Education adopt the resolution Canvas of election results.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Chad. Let's go ahead and start the voting. How about down by, whoa?
I believe the resolution has to be read.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody hear ye?
So does Scott have the I bet you didn't know that when you did the motion, did you?
It's fine.
So it looks like it's the next page that you have.
All right, it's almost hear ye. All right, resolution Canvas of election results. Be it and it is hereby resolved that the Board of Education of School District 25, Cook County, Illinois, that the attached abstract of votes of the election held on April 6, 2021 to elect 4 members for full 4-year terms to said Board of Education is a true and correct canvass of the certificate of results of each precinct thereof as submitted to this board by the election authority of the Cook County Clerk. Be it further resolved that said abstract of votes shall be signed by each member of this Board of Education. That is hereby found and determined that Anisha Ismail Patel, Greg Scapalato, Gina Faso, and Richard Olanichek received the highest number of votes cast for the 4 full-year terms, and each has been elected a member of the Board of Education of Arlington Heights School District 25.
So
So-
that is it, that member Scott Philippek moved. I didn't know if there was a second.
Second was Chad. You're recording that on your end? All right, so now we just take a regular verbal vote. Start with Rich.
Yes.
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 All right, vote passes 6-0.
And we will, before board members leave, we do have the official resolution that each of you will need to sign.
All right. So sticking with that, we now have the swearing in. Technically, I, as board president, will be administering the oath. And so we will just ask our 4 incoming or renewed board members to stand and verbally review the oath. Want to do them, how do we want to do this? Just at your seats, or?
Why don't we have Greg come on up?
Come on up, Greg.
But the 4 of you should stand.
Yeah.
I have the flag.
You want to start them out?
All right, I'll start you out, but I'm not going to do it with you. I did it a couple of years ago. All right. So I, state your name. Do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Arlington Heights School District 25 in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and laws of the State of Illinois, to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect the practice by serving as a faithful protector of the school assets. I shall encourage and extort the free expression of my fellow Welcome to the Board of Education.
Okay, well, welcome back to the three of you, and welcome to Greg officially. All right, so now that the new members are seated, we will redo the board cabinet positions. So the beginning of that looks like this. We need someone to appoint a president pro temp, so I need a motion there.
Mr. President,
Yes, Scott?
I move to appoint Brian Cerniglia as president pro tem.
Thank you. All right, any more nominations for this glamorous position? No? Okay. Thank you, Scott. I think we just do a regular vote on that. We'll start with Anisha.
Actually, with only
Oh.
one candidate,
Oh.
you don't need to
Okay,
vote.
great, tough, you guys are stuck with me. All right. All right. Oh, we need a secretary pro tem, so I need another action from someone to appoint a secretary pro tem.
Mr. President,
Yes, Gina?
I move to appoint Anisha Patel to serve as Secretary Pro Temp.
All righty. Any other, do I have any other nominations? All right, seeing no one rushing for the secretary role, Anisha, we appoint you as Secretary Pro Tem. Now we'll move on to the reorganization of the board and the election of officers and appointment of a recording secretary. So this is another action item. Do we have any motions to appoint a president?
Mr. President,
Yes, Gina?
I move to appoint Scott Philippek as President for a one-year term commencing today, April 29th, 2021.
All right, thank you, Gina. Are there any other nominations for president? Seeing none? Do we vote, or do we not? No, we don't even vote. You're in, man. All right, here.
And I'll pass this over.
Yeah. If he runs out of here, we're going to have to redo this whole thing. All right. Welcome and best of luck, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Outgoing President. And just on a short note, I just wanted to commend you on the last year, being president and watching, or I mean specifically the last year of just the way that you handled a lot of what was going on. I admire the behind the scenes kind of way that things were conducted. So kudos to you, and I hope to live up to the way you've led this district in the last 2 years, but specifically the last year.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for being a supportive vice, and we all know it was a difficult year, but we got through it, and you guys are back in school, and we're going to persevere and move on with our strategic plan. All right. Well, hey, I can be quiet now.
I don't use the gavel. Next up would be the appointment of a vice president. So this is an action item. Do I have
Mr.
any-
President,
Yes, Rich.
I move to appoint Brian Cerniglia as Vice President for a one-year term commencing today, April 29th, 2021.
All right, do I have a second?
You don't need a
No? No second. All right. Do I have any more nominations?
Mr. President,
Yes, Greg.
I wish to nominate one of our colleagues who I believe deserves consideration this evening. I move to appoint Anisha Patel as Vice President for a one-year term commencing today, April 29, 2021.
Any more nominations?
Sorry, I didn't hear you last.
Any more nominations? All right, hearing none, oh, yes, Anisha?
Mr. President, since we have 2 nominations for Vice President tonight, I would like to share a few words.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome, Greg, to the board, and thank you, Greg, for the nomination to serve as Vice President for the District 25 Board. I take seriously the responsibility that the community has placed on me for the last 2 elections. I am determined to continue to stand for our students in schools and unite our community at large. This year has been difficult, for sure, for our students and families, my own children, and emerging stronger will take collaborative, transparent, experienced, and inclusive leadership. I have appreciated Brian Cerniglia serving as our president and vice president for the last 5 years. Truly, thank you for your service. I believe that his experience and voice as a board member will be pivotal in mentoring leaders like myself in officer roles. Our community is asking for a change in the leadership status quo, and I have fully demonstrated that I am qualified. As a second-term board member, I have a strong understanding of effective board governance and have taken more board development than any other board member present. I am a strong communicator, both internally and externally. I have been an active member of our board representing us at both district community events and as an EdRed liaison and director at large on the IASB. As an educator for over 25 years, my life's work is to improve educational institutions. I am a current doctoral student in education, focused on leadership and organizational change. I know how to unify teams towards a mission-driven purpose. And finally, as a business owner, educator, woman, and person of color, I bring a diverse perspective to our board leadership. And for the sake of transparency, I was honored that after the election, a majority of my board colleagues shared their interest in having me serve as president or vice president of our board. Tonight, I ask you, my respected board colleagues, for your vote and continued support. This evening, we have 2 nominations for vice president, and that is the beauty of our democratic process. I stand here before you having demonstrated that I am the right person to serve our board as the vice president. I look forward to collaborating with my board colleagues to ensure that we strive for excellence for every single student. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Mr. President.
Thank you, Anisha. Seeing that there's 2 nominations, we call this to a vote, correct?
You start with the first vote.
Okay, so we'll start with Brian Cerniglia, if you want to start to the right.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 No.
All right, so the vote passes 5-2. So,
You don't need to do another.
okay, so congratulations, Brian, you're vice president.
Thank you. That.
Next, we appoint the board secretary. Do we have an appointment there?
Mr. President,
Yes, Gina.
I move to appoint Anisha Patel as secretary for a one-year term commencing today, April 29th, 2021.
Do we have any more nominations? Seeing none, congratulations, Anisha.
Thank you.
New board secretary.
Thank you.
And I will have many things for you to sign.
Okay, great.
That's right.
appointing a board recording secretary, and I believe we have probably one. Typically.
The board appoints O'Brien.
If it's your birthday, you get,
But you would need to take that
yeah,
action.
so do we have a action for a board recording secretary?
Mr.
Yes,
President,
Rich?
I move to appoint Mrs. O'Brien. Lana, it doesn't sound right. As recording secretary for a one-year term commencing today, April 29th, 2021.
Any other nominations? All right, seeing none, congratulations, Lana.
There's your birthday present.
Yes.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Next is adoption of past practices, policies, and motions. Do we have a motion on that?
Mr. President,
Yes, Rich?
I move that the Board of Education adopt past practices, policies, motions, etc. of the Board of Education.
All right, we need a vote for that, so we can go down. Do we need Anisha here for that?
She would just be absent for this vote.
Okay, so we'll note her.
We don't need a second.
Second.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, Chad. We'll start with Rich.
Yes.
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 Vote passes 6 with 1 absentee. Setting of meeting dates and times. Do I have a motion for that?
Mr. President,
Yes, Brian.
I haven't done that in 2 years. I recommend that the Board of Education approve the school board meeting dates, times, and locations for 2021, 2022 as presented.
Do we have a-
Second.
Thank you, Gina. We'll start down on this end this time. Anisha?
Greg, did you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mr. President?
Yes, Greg.
Mike, I have a quick question. If my board colleagues, we could consider the October 14th meeting and possibly shifting it to October 7th, 1 week earlier. I spoke to Dr. Vine about that, and it seems like it shouldn't have any impact on our board business. And just wondering if that's something we could consider.
Would that affect this motion? Would we have to amend?
No, you're just saying when's the amended date?
Yeah. Is there any objections or any discussion on that? Anybody have a?
Just for clarification, we're looking to move it, let's just state the date we're looking to move it to. So
So,
is it a week earlier?
and what date were you looking at rather than the
So it
14th?
would be 1 week earlier, so
The 7th?
the new date would be October 7th,
Okay.
2021.
Oh,
So-
no, I have pinochle that night, I'm sorry.
All right, so we're looking at an amended motion that we approve it with the amendment that the October 14th would be switched to October 7th, 2021. Okay,
Thank you, Mr. President.
all right. We'll start with a vote. Anisha, sorry.
Yes.
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 All right, vote passes 7-0. Bank depository. Do we have a
That's you.
motion?
Mr. President,
Yes, Rich.
I move that the Board of Education adopt the resolution appointing the treasurer and assistant treasurers of the school district and the bank depositories for the period of July 1st, 2021 through July 1st, 2023.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Rich and Chad, seconds. We'll start with Rich.
Yes.
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 Vote passes 7-0. So it looks like we have to adjourn, right?
Temporarily need to adjourn.
We will temporarily adjourn and then reconvene almost instantly back into our regular board meeting. So I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President,
Yes, Brian.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Brian. And second?
Second.
Rich, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Motion to call to order the open.
All right. Do I have an open, motion to open convene into public meeting?
Mr. President,
Yes, Brian.
I move that the Board of Education, Arlington Heights District 25, move into open session.
Do you have a second? Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are in open session.
You do not need to do the pledge allegiance again, but the secretary should note the roll call for the new.
All right, so we noted the roll, and we'll move on to recognitions and presentations.
I'm going to walk around the other microphone for this one. And I'm going to ask Liz and Lucy and Lori to join me at the front of the microphone.
Hello. Oh, cool.
I am pleased to share with the board some information about a wonderful PTA event. As you know, District 25 has always greatly benefited from our partnerships with ABC 25 and with our PTA Council, which includes active parent-teacher associations at each of our 9 schools. The volunteers who lead our PTAs are appreciated for not only their time and efforts, but moreover for their partnership with staff and families as we all strive to positively impact our students and our larger community. I am fortunate personally to have a lifetime membership in the Illinois PTA, and I've appreciated the impact school PTAs have had on my own children and my family. But I'm extra fortunate that I get to see the impact of our District 25 PTAs on all of our schools, communities, and our students. In addition to the numerous ways they directly support our students and our families, PTAs are purposeful about recognizing educators and community members who are important to their mission. I know that on behalf of the Board of Education, I can say that we are so very thankful for all of our ABC 25 and our PTA leaders and members. And we appreciate especially Liz Neerman and Lucy Block, who are attending tonight to share a very special recognition of Thomas Middle School Principal Lori Naumowitz. Liz?
Each year, the Illinois PTA honors one administrator from the state of Illinois as the Outstanding Administrator of the Year. Applications are submitted from all over the state, and the recipient is chosen based on his or her relationship with students, families, and the community. Special attention is focused on the administrator's support of communication between educators, parents, and students, and his or her commitment to the PTA missions and purposes. We are so honored to celebrate Principal Lori Naumowitz, this year's Outstanding Administrator of the Year for Illinois. I'll now introduce Lucy Block, Thomas Middle School's PTA president, to tell you more about this special principal.
Thank you so much, Liz. And Dr. Bryan, thank you for inviting me here to share some of the reasons why I and so many people at Thomas are just so happy that Lori has been acknowledged and has received this award. I'm so happy for her. There's so many reasons why she's so deserving of this, but I thank you for allowing me to just share a few. She has worked tirelessly to do her best with her amazing support staff, as well as the Thomas PTA, to make this a great year for the students. One of Lori's strongest attributes is how much she truly loves her students and her staff. She is completely devoted to making sure that the students' social and emotional needs are met while ensuring the students get a good education. She has an endless amount of energy, day after day of problem solving, never seems to affect her attitude or enthusiasm for her job. She's an excellent communicator, and working with the students in the building and the community, which actually ended up, last year we received a Ruby Award in communication. We received the Ruby Level Award in 2020 for excellence in creating a communication bridge to the Thomas community. I'm so sorry, I'm so nervous, guys. I really am. Lori has created a Zoom platform for all of our meetings and has never missed one meeting. Our PTA has come to Lori with numerous suggestions of events and virtual clubs, and she has been very instrumental in making all of them happen. The thing that I love the most is at our PTA meetings, she begins all of her meetings with her Attitude of Gratitude report, where she recognizes the efforts of the PTA and its mission, parent support, and just offers positive feedback on the goings-on at Thomas. The most wonderful thing to note about her attitude of gratitude is she truly has a grateful heart. She is just genuinely such a positive person and influence to our school's PTA. She is so wonderful to work with, easygoing, and appreciates all perspectives on any issue that has presented itself in this very difficult year. It is evident that she loves her students, loves her job, and realizes how integral the PTA is to our school's organization. She is an all-around, just an outstanding administrator and person. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just a quick thank you. I'm overwhelmed and overjoyed just to have this honor. The staff at Thomas Middle School is incredible, and the fact that we have a parent community that supports us and trusts us and works with us and is always coming to us with ideas and suggestions just makes it such a joy to work with. And to have this honor this year during this difficult year, it truly means so much to me and the entire staff. Leadership is not a one-man job, and we owe so much to our staff and to our parents and to our awesome students. So thank you. I'm overjoyed.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. I think it's been said a couple times when you were being honored there that I wouldn't say it's easy, but to be recognized during a normal year is quite an achievement. To really achieve something during this difficult time, it says a lot about you, that you really distinguish yourself, and I hope this means that much more, because when the going gets tough, you stood out, and I think the board appreciates that. So congratulations.
And Lori and Lucy and Liz, you're all welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to go celebrate for the evening.
We'll move on to public address of the board, and I believe I have to read the script. The opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have a comment to make about the business of the board. The board appreciates hearing from stakeholders and values your thoughts and questions. As the board strives to make the best decisions for the district, public input can be helpful. In order for the board to reserve sufficient time to conduct its business and operate its meeting in the spirit of civility and decorum, speakers are expected to follow the following guidelines. Address the board only at the time provided on the agenda and only after being recognized by the board president. Identify yourself and be brief. Your comments must be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. The board may shorten this allowed time in order to conserve time to allow a maximum number of people the opportunity to speak. Please be respectful and courteous, and the board requests that you not make statements that personally are disrespectful or condescending to members of the board or staff. The board typically does not respond to comments or attempt to answer questions during public comment period, but we do listen intently and appreciate the input from our community. And with that, I do not have any slips. All right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll take it, or do they have to go?
You want to go ahead and start?
Yeah.
Melissa Kayer, and I think it's a waste to fill out those blue sheets. Why can't we just stand in line and say our comments? And Stina Dia, I looked that up, and I think we're using it in an inappropriate manner on the agenda, so you might want to check with the lawyer on that. It's Latin. I don't think we teach Latin in School District 25 anymore, do we? No, we don't. Okay. And then on the board docs, the approval of consent agenda items, can you please put the attachments for the supporting documentation for those items on board docs so the public can follow along when you're approving them?
Thank you. So I do have blue sheets. You want to bring them on up? Or? Yeah, Lana, how do you want to grab them first, or can we just? Yeah, bring them on up, bring them up. Yeah.
All this good Robert's Rules of Order and stuff.
Yeah, I know, what kind of shit?
It's okay. I'm used to this. I served on the executive committee at both Dryden and South. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I will give them to you. Yes. I just want to say thank you, first of all, to all of you serving our community on this board. This election was brutal. And you'd think you're like all vying for $1 million position somewhere, okay? So I thank all of you for serving and doing what you do. Just a couple comments. I'm Jen Strimling. I live here in Arlington Heights in Scarsdale. I just want to ensure that the board has adequate representation within the executive committee for officer positions on the District 25 school board. I don't know what the bylaws are for our school board, but I'm going to suggest, if there aren't already there, that there are term limits implemented for executive committee members. If there aren't, I think they should be put in place. We have term limits in other government offices across the country, and I think it should probably be here on our school board where we're not just flip-flopping back and forth. So I'll say that. And then also, looking at the vote count from our recent election from the community, I think that should be considered when you're looking at executive committee members. I think vote count says something about who we believe in and who your community supports, and I think that should be taken into consideration. If DEI is a priority, my question is, I feel like we have a DEI expert in Anisha. So will there be training for the board members so everyone else can get on board? People that maybe don't have 20 years in the field or have a master's in education that are going for a doctorate. That seemed to be very important in this election, and I just ask that you guys follow up on the DEI piece. I haven't seen a lot, as I served on committees at both Dryden and South. I haven't seen a lot of change in the last decade. And I know it's been on there, so I'm just asking to make sure that you guys are all training in that area and press it down. The last point I want to make, if a woman can serve in our country as a vice president in the White House, I don't see why a female can't serve on this board in an executive committee in a vice president or presidential role. So thank you all for serving, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Any other?
Hello, school board members. My name is Bliss Hanson. I live at 1118 North Highland Avenue. I'm here to express my disappointment in the school board's transparency. You guys have really done a very bad job over the last year. It's been a very difficult year, as we all know, and it was a very hard election. And there are people on this board who have gotten a lot of community support, and the numbers represent that. And what I see is a lot of white males on a board representing a community that is over 50% women. We have 2 women, we lost a woman. And I think it's really disappointing that we just had white males put a woman in a secretary role again. So if you want to do better and be committed to the diversity and the DEI initiatives in this community, start to act like it. Show it. This was really disappointing today. The highest vote counter from 2 elections in 2017 and 2020 just got put into the traditional woman secretary role by a bunch of white guys on purpose. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any more? One more, all right.
I'm Trisha Hasan. I'm a Arlington Heights member, and I just want to remind everybody on the board that you took an oath, and which was just reminded for the new members, and that's a commitment to the code of ethics and guidelines that are in the bylaws, including transparency and respect. And so I just want everyone to remember that as you're serving in this volunteer committee.
All right, thank you. Any other blue slips in the audience? All right, let's transition to online then.
Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 submitted online. From Christine Organ, I would like to thank the board for unanimously adopting the 21-25 strategic plan, which includes diversity, equity, and inclusion, core values and goals. I look forward to hearing more about implementation and to seeing actionable steps regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion. From Karen Joseph, thanks to the board for unanimously adopting the 21-25 strategic plan, which includes diversity, equity, and inclusion, core values and goals. The strategic plan aligns well with the board's commitment to eliminate racial injustice and with the approved DEI policy 1:32. As stated at the last meeting, the DEI policy is meant to be built into the DNA of what we are as a district. That being said, I look forward to hearing more about implementation and to seeing actionable steps regarding DEI very soon. From Monica Tsitse, I just want to thank the board for unanimously adopting the 21-25 strategic plan and included within DEI core values and goals. I look forward to hearing more about implementation and to seeing actionable steps regarding DEI. From Alina Laurie, it's time to update District 25 procedures regarding anyone identified as a close contact. First off, the CDC latest guidance is that a person can take a test 5 days after close contact exposure, and if the test is negative, they can resume normal activity. Secondly, the close contact distance is 3 feet instead of 6 feet. Even if the county health department hasn't updated their procedures yet, that should not hold District 25 back from doing the right thing. Our community has ample access to the vaccine. All District 25 who wanted the vaccine had the opportunity to get it. The best thing about independent school districts is that each can make the decisions that are best for their students. The greatest impact on students right now is needless exclusion from school and exclusion from school activities such as music and sports. From Alexis Christensen, I would like to thank the board for unanimously adopting the 21-25 strategic plan, which includes diversity, equity, and inclusion, core values, and goals. As a District 25 parent, I look forward to hearing more about implementation and to seeing actionable steps regarding DEI. And from Leah Ross, I am incredibly concerned about the policy of contact tracing that completely disregards that an airborne virus can move wherever it wants to, and it's also invisible. A virus might move to 3 feet, 4 feet, 10 feet, or it might not ever enter anyone else's body whatsoever. Nobody throughout history has been able to predict who will get a virus next, and you certainly cannot do that with groups of children and tell the healthy children they have to go home. These are decisions we must trust parents to make, and we must give families control again now that we are through the worst of this pandemic, to make choices about when their child is ill and when their child is well. We decide if our children are at risk, or if they have been exposed, or if they are sick and need to stay home. The children are also wearing masks, and although they've been blamed to be wearing them wrong, it is an incredible insult and age discrimination against the middle school group that you would make them wear masks but deny their effectiveness. Why are they wearing masks then? They have complied with every rule all year long, and now that nearly 100% of these children are in school, they are being threatened on a daily basis just by showing up and working hard, that they might get a phone call and be told to stay away and get kicked out of sports and activities, and potentially culminating events at the end of 8th grade like graduation in the last week of school. Contact tracing is a complete failure and does more harm than good. The number statistically currently on the District 25 dashboard proves this. 0.07% of all excluded cases have ever become positive cases. And the positive cases are likely the ground zero cases where the child acquired COVID outside of school, likely from an adult. We have known COVID transmission within schools is so small to non-existent at this policy of contact tracing now, where we exclude hordes of healthy children, is a complete and total travesty of our rights in public education. It is a total failure, and it is certainly not needed at this stage. When we have a vaccine protecting all adults who have chosen to take it at this point, the number of excluded children far exceeds the number of total positives since September 1 of 2020 to an embarrassing degree. 197 positive children since the beginning of the year in the building. 2,632 healthy children have been excluded this year. It is a violation of our rights to public education as taxpayers that our school district is using health guidance as law and claiming it as law when it is only guidance to remove healthy children from the school building and demand they stay out of the building and all activities for 14 days. Those are all the public comments submitted by noon. These and any additional ones are available to the board and will be published on our website.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bine. Next up is communications to and from board members. And first up, this is something I haven't done, I think we have all but once. No?
I think we missed number 5.
All right, approval of consent agenda. First mistake, probably the last one. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President.
Yes, Brian.
I move that the Board of Education approve those items on the consent agenda as follows. A, personnel report and addendum to personnel report. B, invoices. C, regular and closed session meeting minutes of April 8th, 2021. Memorandum of agreement with SEIU.
All right, do I have a second?
That's it. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Chad. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All right, we'll start the voting down with Anisha.
Yes.
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 All right, vote passes 7-0. Now we move on to communications to and from board members. I got ahead of myself there. And I was about to say that this is, I think I've given one update on NSSEO since Erin Johannesson was so dedicated, and again, she was spectacular in that role. Just a brief update on NSSEO that we're going to be presented the 21-22 budget later in the meeting. And that we do have an opening for NSSEO if anyone is interested. Gina Faso has stepped up and expressed interest in being our representative. I will continue to be the alternate if nobody else wants to serve on that board. Like Erin has let us all know, it is a very rewarding experience to be a part of what NSSEO does on a daily basis and to see what achievements and just the great things that is going on. So that's my little update there. Time is of the essence because the first meeting back is Wednesday. So Gina, you're going to hit the ground running, and I know Dr. Hackett over there wants to meet and kind of get you going. So that's where we are with NSSEO. Next up is IASB with Brian. You're reporting.
No update this week or this month.
All right. EdRed, Anisha or Stacy?
Actually, Mr. President, I had something to add about the ISB.
Okay.
If I go back up, if that's okay. Yeah. ISB is offering an excellent series of workshops that I believe my colleague Greg has already signed up for, and I'll be joining. And it's called Social and Emotional Leadership Webinar Series, and that's going to be happening May through August. And there's a lot of great programs, including some that I think our board can benefit from: Introduction to Social and Emotional Leadership Skills, Communicating with Candor, Conflict Resolution, Building Mutual Understanding, Respect, and Trust through Listening. So I think this would be great for us to kind of look at, for each of us to look at and see which ones would we'd benefit from. And I know Greg and I, when we go, we'll come back and report back as well.
Sounds good. All right. Moving on. EdRed?
No report.
EdRed?
Oh, no report.
Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
I was side chatting with Chad.
No, that's next board governance framework. Do we have, or do I just pick?
You can just pick something, or you can pick someone else to pick something.
Ooh. Does anybody want to put me on the spot and pick something, or? about this one? New board member orientation. So this comes under probably timely. Did you? Oh, boy. I'm sorry, that's I'll just read it again because Greg, you're on this side of the table, so maybe it'll be the board desires to team where all members contribute to effective board leadership. The board takes initiative in helping new members learn, understand, and practice effective governance. The board president shall arrange a meeting of the whole board to review board processes and procedures. The superintendent shall meet with new board members to answer questions and acquaint the members with the district. If desired by a new board member, a veteran member will be identified as a mentor. So this is under policy 2120, board member development. Again, I thought that would be something that's timely. I know that Greg, you're probably well into that process, and again, I think we've had just some side chats. Soak it all in, and don't be afraid to ask questions when they occur. I know we've all been there, and it may seem like a huge process, but we're excited to have you, and anything you need, we're here for you. So welcome. All right, so communication to board members, starting with the PTAs. Liz Neerman.
Good evening. This year, our Arlington Heights PTAs have been creative in the ways they've reimagined all of our favorite events to give our children as much normality as possible. They've brought educational programs to parents and supported teachers throughout the year and are already planning for next year. Please consider joining your school's PTA to be a part of the positivity and connection they are creating. Becoming a member also gives you a chance to be a part of a powerful association that advocates on behalf of all children and educators at the local, state, and national levels. Locally, your membership includes access to your school directory, and middle school memberships include a yearbook. The easiest way to join your school's PTA is during school registration, which is right around the corner. There will be an opportunity for you to click to join as you go through the process of registering your child for next year. To our current members, many of you are board members, thank you for your continued support. And to our future members, we look forward to welcoming you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Liz. Next, ABC 25 Foundation is Ann.
Hi, so I'd like to start by thanking anyone and everyone who came out to our race this year. It was not what we are used to, but it was actually a phenomenal day. Thank you to Lori for being there, cheering everyone on, being such a support, and Scott and Anisha, it was so nice to see you guys there. Thank you for the coffee. We needed it, and I took part in it as well. The foundation is so important to our teachers, to our students, to the board, to anyone who's impacted by our community. So we'd love that when, again, just like Liz said, when you're doing that registration, we know it's a lot of money you're checking off as you're hitting those buttons. Click and join then. If you can't, I get it. There have been years where I haven't joined on that big push of money that we're all shelling out in a couple weeks. You can join anytime. We've had people join last week, and it still impacts our schools. So we would love for you to be part of this foundation. We would love for people to come talk to us about what it is. We would love more support. We would love more participation. So anyone and everyone in the district or the community is welcome to come out and support the foundation that does so much for our kids and our community. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And just a personal note, we ran it. I know this year has been crazy. I know that there were several roadblocks in just making it happen in person together. So kudos to you guys for not taking no for an answer and getting that done. Even though if it was a modified route, it still was a lot of fun, and it was good to be out with the rest of the community running. So.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just want to add to your words. And you did a phenomenal job planning an event in a virtual setting, and all these different shifts and all the raffles and scavenger hunts, and super creative. So thank you so much for all the work that you did for the whole team.
Next up is the ATA. Not tonight. Okay, thank you. Student learning, technology, and student privacy. And we have Chris Fonahoe. Hello there. This is our student data update.
All right, good evening, everybody. This informational item will focus on updates surrounding the Student Online Personal Protection Act, or SOPA, and the required changes to our existing procedures as they relate to student data and managing our educational technology resources. I apologize in advance for a little bit. There are a lot of acronyms involved with this, so I'll just try to make sure I am clear about those, and then if anyone has any questions, just let me know. All right, in District 25, we seek to provide educational tools to support student learning while continually revising our procedures to protect the student data that are part of these programs. We take student data privacy very seriously and provide information to our staff about the importance of being mindful when it comes to student information. Student data generally centers around what's called covered information, or another term would be personally identifiable information, or PII. This includes data such as names, grades, services a student may be receiving, and any other items that can be tracked back to an individual student. Before I address the specific changes in SOPA, the new law, or the updated law, I want to briefly outline the current areas of focus when it comes to student data, as this has been an evolving landscape as more resources and experiences utilize digital tools. Currently, to determine if platforms or vendors are appropriate for our environment and adhere to other governing laws such as COPA and FERPA, we've reviewed privacy policy, terms of service, and reference sites such as Common Sense Media for additional information. This list is reviewed twice per year for potential changes to any of these elements. And further, we post what tools are used and how accounts are handled both online and in the parent handbook. Further, we include only the minimum amount of personally identifiable information necessary when creating accounts to restrict what is being shared for our students. We work with staff so they have access to platforms that support their curriculum, but at the same time, we remind staff that these services need to be vetted. Our tech facilitators review our subscriptions and applications, and they are a critical component for working with the staff to educate on privacy issues, provide potential alternatives, and inform about any existing options that may meet their needs. We review platforms and accounts to make sure that users have the appropriate level of access to information only needed for their role. Finally, we have updated our data breach protocol to include the new requirements in SOPA. This systematic process still includes establishing our local incident team and working together with our legal team, insurance provider, and local authorities as needed. Okay, so that's kind of just an overview of what we've done. This is regarding the changes that have taken place specifically in this act. So the Student Online Personal Protection Act, or SOPA, as I mentioned, was updated with several significant changes that will go into effect in July. Will impact all school districts in Illinois, the Illinois State Board of Education, and any educational technology vendors who plan on working within the state of Illinois and with school districts. All right, within SOPA, there are many concepts that are defined, the most important one being the idea of operators. So an operator is any third-party vendor or third-party host that gathers or processes student data. The key expectation is that operators and districts should only be collecting data and information for school-related purposes. So as a general overarching, statement regarding SOPA, that's the main purpose. As with any act or law, it goes on and on in terms of defining some of the details. So to ensure that this purpose is met, SOPA outlines a specific set of requirements that are needed in a data sharing agreement between a district and an operator. So this is a formal agreement between the two entities, and SOPA provisions that a data privacy agreement, or a DPA, the requirement kicks in when any covered information is shared with operators. The agreement must detail what data is collected, what services are provided, a statement that the operator is adhering to FERPA regulations, data breach procedures, and how information can be accessed and deleted as needed. Although a district can create its own data privacy agreement, it is recommended that districts use the Illinois version of the National Data Privacy Agreement, or the ILNDPA. This agreement provides SOPA compliance between the operator and the district. The Illinois NDPA was generated through the Learning Technology Center of Illinois with input from various legal counsels. It has been made available to all Illinois school districts, and it is the document we utilize when working with operators now. In cases where no student data or PII is provided to the operator, an agreement is not required. So in not every instance of an application or program that we use, we would need this agreement, but anytime we do exchange information, it's required. SOPA further outlines a variety of information that must be posted on the district website, including a list of operators, along with the corresponding agreements, what data is being shared with the vendor, how districts and families can review the data, and again, any information regarding data breaches that have been disclosed to the district. All right, so this is just kind of going over now what we've been doing over the last couple of months. Board Policy 7:345, which is the use of educational technology, student data privacy and security, was adopted and contained SOPA-related components, many of which I'm discussing this evening. Our team has also been involved with extensive training with the LTC, which is the Learning and Technology Center of Illinois. They've taken the lead in Illinois regarding SOPA training and information. We've also become part of the Student Data Privacy Consortium, which provides additional resources, training, and tools to support district efforts to become SOPA compliant and engage with vendors. The bulk of the work so far has been understanding that process, learning it, and then now working with operators to get the data privacy agreements in place. All right, further, during this process, many questions and the need for clarifications around SOPA and the requirements have developed as districts navigate this new landscape. We've coordinated with our legal teams, other local districts, representatives from other states, and the consortium to become better educated on the process. Within the district, we've discussed SOPA as a cabinet, administrative team, tech team, and provided base information for our staff. We'll continue to provide updates and information to staff during the course of the school year to develop awareness and then notify them of any changes that may result. We've started to move information from an existing web page to a product called Learn Platform, which I'll just show briefly in a moment. This service supports the organization of our educational technology tools, in addition to a platform for posting SOPA required information in a clear and searchable format. So just as a visual reference, this is a page that we've maintained for years with the tools that we've used in the corresponding privacy policies. You can just see that it's just a general description of what information is being shared, the product itself, and then links to any of the privacy policies that are available. This is an example page of a vendor that provides a lot more information that will be available, again, both to our staff and to the public. You can see that the privacy policy and terms of service are still listed. There's also a description of the service, the inclusion of any data sharing agreements that we have, any additional exhibits or documents for that particular product, and the status of that, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner, whether that's approved for use and if they're compliant with SOPA. And again, in July, this will be available both to our staff and to our community. All right, so from here, we'll continue to work with operators that require an agreement and we'll add any of that information to that Learn platform. So we need to continue to build that out. We need to work with our vendors to make sure they understand the requirements of SOPA. Again, this isn't an option. It's something that we need to have in place if we're exchanging student data. We'll continue to develop communications for staff in the community, post the SOPA requirements for online access. And then finally, we need to work to streamline the approval request process for our staff for any new applications or platforms that they may be interested in using. Again, this process will require the evaluation of the product as we've done in the past. And if any PII is involved, a data sharing agreement will be required prior to use, so this will be a change. At this time, we're also planning for additional training in the fall that will be incorporated into our staff training days and new teacher sessions. So that's kind of an update of what we've been doing and then kind of some of the changes that have evolved from SOPA and the next steps that we have for the next 2 months before July comes.
All right, thank you, Chris. Anything from the board for Chris? Any acronyms that he left out? Rich?
Hey, appreciate the update. Maybe a couple questions, Chris. Does SOPA talk at all about the retention of PII and the fact that, do some of these third parties, do they retain PII, or is that covered then in any agreement that we would have with them that, talks about the retention of PII, whether it be in-student or post-non-student any longer?
Yeah, so that's part of the agreement. So part of it is the access to the data, the ability to delete it, and that when the agreement is over, that data would be deleted. So we would have it in any instance, whether it's we end our contract with them, we have a specific instance in which we need specific data deleted, and then there are some terms in there regarding the amount of time that they have to do that, but that's all included in that agreement.
And then do parents have the rights in this situation, because it is sharing to a third party, the right of refusal, meaning they don't want their students' information shared? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so we've had instances before where somebody did not want to use a particular product, and we've just worked with them individually. So either further explaining what is being shared so that they were clear about it, providing alternatives for them. In some cases, we've been able to do that. Or in other cases, we've been able to create accounts that don't have any personal information in them. In essence, they are just alternative accounts with no student name, no data attached at all.
Like service accounts.
Yeah, yep.
Anything else?
Mr. President?
Greg?
Chris, the SOPA talks about data breaches, and so does it describe or prescribe steps for data breaches in the event of one? And how do we determine those steps, and what happens in that event?
Yeah, so there's a very specific layout in the act regarding data breaches. I can send you the whole list of it, but it talks about the amount of time that the vendor is required to provide that information to the district within a certain amount of time. It outlines the costs that are associated with it and who bears those costs. We then have to post that online, notify our public, and then we have to keep that information online for 5 years from the time of the breach. So all of those details are laid out specifically in them. We've had data breach responses, in the past, and so we've just incorporated those into what we have. So again, as I mentioned, we still have our local incident team where we kind of come together. We try to look at where the breakdown might have happened, get the notice out, work on communication with Adam, and then do a review of the whole incident too to see if there are changes that we can make for the future.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
I didn't use the word PI or the acronym PII until I was well in my adult years, and I think these kids now are, you got to take care of that information right off the rip because it's going to follow it forever. So thanks. Thanks for staying on top of that. We'll move on to the NSSEO budget. Or actually, no, I'm sorry. We're going to go to the extension of the contract with the audit firm. And this is an action item, so do I have a motion?
Mr. President.
Yes, Brian?
I recommend that the Board of Education extend the contract for independent financial audit services with Baker Tilly for 3 additional years, 2020-2021 through 2022-2023 as presented.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second? Anisha, second. All right, Stacy.
Thank you. So we have changed auditors. This is the 3rd audit firm I've worked with while in District 25. Partially based on costs, the last one based on service. One important factor I like in independent auditors is having at least some consistency on the audit team. Jason Coyle has been the managing partner on our audit since we started with Baker Tilly. While there's always new first-year auditors that come on site, we've also had the secondary upper manager, Susanna Filipovic, I think is how you say her name, for the last probably 4 years, makes for ease of understanding, knowing what they expect from us, knowing what they want from us, and their timeliness in terms of getting us the audit as needed and meeting our timelines for interim audit as well as final audit. And in terms of their proposal for an increase, I did reach out to them and ask them for a proposal to renew the contract with them for the next 3 years, and do feel that the proposed increase is in line with what I'm hearing from other districts. Anytime there is a new GASB implementation, there is an additional cost. There's only one that we're aware of right now that will take effect with the current year audit. But just so that you know, if any new GASBs do come into place in the future, there would be a similar approximate, $1,000 to $1,500 cost for those. But I would recommend continuing with Baker Tilly for the next 3 years.
Thank you, Stacy. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Mr. President?
Rich?
Just and again, not saying that Baker Tilly is, so I'm not implying not to go with them, but who are the other major players in this specific market spot that, are the, maybe someone that we should consider if we were to consider?
Oh, off the top of my head, names of firms. I can picture the auditors because I work with them all through ISBO.
But maybe let me re-ask that question different. Is Baker Tilly really the, they're the number one, I guess?
Baker Tilly, they're heavily active in schools. They have a lot of our neighboring districts. They do 214 and the Treasury for 214 as well as us. Some of the other firms are larger types of firms, so they're more expensive. And some of the ones that are comparable in size to Baker Tilly, one in particular is the one that we actually left when we moved to Baker Tilly, and that was a result of not getting our audit until like March following the end of the year, which wasn't satisfactory. So there are, I am very familiar with there's probably 3 or 4 firms that are heavily active in my professional association for heavily being involved in school district auditing, and Baker Tilly is one of those.
Any other questions, comments? All right, we'll start back down that way with Rich on the vote.
Yes.
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 All right, 7-0 passes. Now we're at the NSSEO budget. Again with Stacy.
So with the NSSEO budget this year, as the board is aware, they start in December building the budget. They work with the assistant superintendents for student services in all the districts to get projected enrollment and numbers and service needs for the upcoming year. And then they meet with the business officials from all of the member districts, typically every couple of weeks starting in January until the budget is developed, going through certain aspects of how we all feel about some of the participation costs in their budget. In terms of tuition, their various tuitions for the various programs are increasing anywhere from 2.26% to 2.84%. In terms of our student enrollment, we are looking at an additional 4 students in our budget versus for next year versus what we have this year. We also are looking at an increased number of one-to-one aides for the students that we do have in the minor programs. We also rely heavily on them right now for services related to, it's BCBA, Board Certified Behavior Analyst. We have 2 positions in the district. Took us 3 years to fill one of those positions, and the other one we haven't been able to fill, so we rely on NSSEO to provide that service to our district, as well as over the past couple of years, we've used increased amount of vision services through NSSEO based on our student needs. As a result, we're looking at about $2.7 million in tuition for NSSEO. That does include a contingency of 4 students, as we always anticipate we'll have move-ins through the course of the year. When I add in the private place students, as well as summer programs for our out-of-district special ed students, I'm looking at a total budget of about almost $3.2 million for out-of-district tuition, which is a $500,000 increase over the current year. Part of that increase is a result of the change in how our federal IDEA funds are handled. Historically, our IDEA funds would flow through NSSEO. They would maintain a portion of that. You're required to spend 5% of your IDEA funds on professional development. They would hold that from every member district and provide that professional development, as well as holding a portion of their administrative costs. That money, IDEA money, starting with the current year, has to flow directly to the school districts. So now, rather than NSSEO simply holding those funds and having them as part of their budget, the funds come to us, so then NSSEO has to bill us for those services and we have to pay them. So that cost is just over $200,000. And then the difference would be based on those other factors that I've mentioned. We do not know at this point what our IDEA allocations will be for next year. We are hearing that they will be increased. I was hoping to have the numbers for tonight. So without knowing those numbers, we're looking at a $500,000 increase in tuition based in the budget for next year versus this year.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Any questions, comments? All right, thank you. Next up, we have the extension of the bus transportation contract, and this is an action item, so we're going to need a motion. Don't all jump at once.
Mr. President.
Yes, Brian.
I move that the Board of Education approve the extension of the bus transportation contract with Cook County School Bus Company for school year 2021-2022.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. We're going back. Stacy.
The school code allows school districts to bid out for transportation services a maximum of a 3-year contract. And immediately following that, you can extend a contract for 2 years. And after that 2-year period, you can only extend annually on a year-to-year basis, which is where we're at this point, since we are currently in our 6th year with Cook County. If we were to receive a timely request to bid, we would be forced to go out to bid for transportation services. Some of you may recall when that happened 6 years ago, the company that actually submitted that request to us didn't even end up bidding on us, and we only got one other bid. Part of the issue is we do have a requirement that a bus company have a bus barn, we call it, but a site where the buses are stored within a certain proximity of the district, because if a bus breaks down, we want them to be able to get a backup bus to us within 15-20 minutes, not have to wait till they travel an hour to get here. They are proposing a 3.5% increase for next year. One of the benefits we get in our program with Cook County that I don't think is highly typical is we have had, for the most part, a lot of consistency with our drivers. We have some very long-term drivers with Cook that like to continue to do the same routes with us. There is a driver shortage that other companies have, it's been in the paper. So I do feel very good about this proposal, this increase that they've proposed, and recommend continuing with them for next year.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments?
Mr. President.
Rich?
How does this impact the prior midterm adjustment contract, whatever that was that we did with them? How does that relate to this, or is that still, or is that no longer now apply, or how does that work?
So that's actually, that was an amendment to our contract that is only in effect if we're not transporting 5 days a week, which as of now, we are back to a normal schedule. So this is just a renewal of our base contract. Right now, we are down That the $1.4 million that's shown here does anticipate will also go back to the regular number of routes. Specifically at Ivy Hill, we did go down by 3 routes because we just have a large portion of students that all live, that would take the bus that aren't being transported this year. So we are anticipating those 3 routes would come back next year, at least at some point in that cost. But that was an amendment too that's only in place while we're in some form of hybrid or remote learning.
Anything else? All right, with nothing, we'll start with Anisha.
Yes.
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 All right, vote passes 7-0. Thank you, Stacy, for a lot of info there. Moving on to our superintendent report. This is the second reading of policies from strategic plan, and this is an action item, so we need a motion.
Mr. President.
Yes, Rich.
I move that the Board of Education approve the second reading of policies as presented.
Thanks, Rich. Do I have a second?
Second.
Chad, thank you. Dr. Bine.
Thank you, and these are the policies, again, that you've seen previously. These particular policies are just updating the mission to reflect the new strategic plan.
All right. Any questions, comments? This is our second time seeing them, so we'll start down the voting down by Rich.
Yes.
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 All right, 7-0 passes. This is going to be our first reading, moving on to first reading of other policies. Dr. Bine?
Thank you. So you have 3 policies in front of you for first reading. We do expect to bring them back to you at the next meeting, which is actually next week, for second reading. One of them is an administrator benefits plan. This is a new policy for District 25. Which is being created to align with contracts for our administrators. The policy details administrative classifications, salary, benefits, professional growth, and reimbursement components that again will line up with the actual contracts that we would present to administrators moving forward. The other 2 are somewhat related, the uniform grievance procedure and the Title IX sexual harassment grievance procedure. These are current policies, but recently updated due to suggestions from the State Board of Education, the Illinois Association of School Boards. However, we're bringing them back to you for even more detailed updates after legal counsel has suggested some edits for those.
All right. Any initial questions or comments on that? All right, we'll see him again next month. All right, this is our second community input, and this is where the public may address the board again. I don't have to go through the long script again, do I? No, okay. Do we have any blue slips turned in for second public comment? Is there an official name for the blue slip? The blue sheets? Okay. Public comment forms, all right. I'll wait for Lana. And first up, we'll have Heidi Graham.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Graham. I'm a former District 25 parent and a current District 25 resident. I want to thank you for approving the strategic plan, which includes provisions for diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I'm here to express my dismay that your first opportunity to walk the talk of diversity, equity, and inclusion by electing not only a woman to an executive leadership position, but a woman of color and a woman who is highly qualified, the board missed that opportunity. I realize that what is done, but I hope that this board looks at this opportunity that you have missed and recognizes that moving forward, we need to be able to count on you to not miss any more of these opportunities so that we can bring more voices to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Saj.
Hello, everybody. I am a voter and a citizen of the Village of Arlington Heights. Just want to let you guys know that what I witnessed here tonight was pure cowardice. After that applause and the support that Anisha got from the community as being the highest vote getter, and votes count, votes matter, constituents matter, as if that needs to be explained to you guys, okay? And what you did is just vote one of the best candidates out of even a vice president position. Everyone sees what you're doing. You're not hiding anything here. There's nothing that you're hiding. Everyone understands. All you did, Brian and Scott, was flip positions. You know, Scott, you gave Brian a really glowing review of his leadership over the last year. Yet the community was in chaos. People were upset. It was your administration. You were vice president. He was president. What happened? Complete chaos. So I don't know where the glowing review came from, other than the fact that maybe you guys decided that you're going to make sure that she doesn't become vice president. Yeah, okay. You can nod no, but that's really what happened. Okay? Uh-huh. Sure, no problem. But regardless, that's the truth. That's what happened. You guys feel like you got away with something, but you didn't. The community sees what's going on. Eventually, it will catch up to you. The media will be catching up to you. I'm sure other people will be catching up to you as well. Because it's not right. The people that walked out of this room were disgusted by what we saw, okay? The people that applauded for her when she was nominated by Greg really wanted to see something actually change here. And you didn't. You switched positions. That was ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you for the input. Any other? One more? All right. Is it Karen Thomas?
Good evening. I'm Karen Thomas. I'm a community member. I'm an alum of D25. My daughter was in D25. You've seen me before. I am also very disappointed about, well, sorry, I'm going to read because I'm also kind of upset. So it is disappointing and unacceptable that the board missed an opportunity to recognize the need to uplift and support a highly qualified woman of color to lead this board. Opportunities like this is how we are going to move forward and create a more just and equitable environment in our schools and in our community.
All right, thank you. Any other blue forms, Lana? Anybody from the audience? All right, thank you. We are going to have a motion to adjourn. We got any future agenda topics there on the?
I'll just mention at this moment that Scott will be reaching out to board members to, because we need to fill committee roles moving forward. Lana did, oh, thank you. Oh, here's some that are getting signed up already. Lana also put a sheet out by your space so you could see what those positions are. And I know that Scott, you already talked about Gina will step up and be on the NSSEO governing board, and Scott will remain alternate. So if anybody has questions about what these committees or positions do, feel free to give me a call or Scott, and you can let us know when you feel like those are arranged.
Sounds good. Brian?
Do we have I was just going to ask, for clarification, maybe for Lori, do we have kind of a target date? I can't recall from last year. Do we have a target date of when we want to get these filled?
There's not technically, except for, I will say, the graduation representatives. The schools would like that like really soon so that they can finalize their plans. NSSEO was another one that, like Scott said, was really time important. And then typically we try to do it within the next meeting or two.
Okay, thank you.
Just filter them in when you can. Sorry,
I
Nisha,
have
yes.
a question. In the committee sheets, I know that we had talked about having 2 board members represent on a parent diversity equity advisory team, and I don't see that.
Yeah, Anisha, thank you for bringing that up. On the May 6th agenda, I am adding board meeting formats where we originally talked about that, and I'll bring it back at that time to see if it's something the board wants to add.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just, again, on the form, Lana, can you send this to us electronically? That way just, my handwriting gets better with age.
Yeah, would a Google Doc be, can we do that, or is that something that? Awesome, then is everyone familiar with grabbing on there and putting in, if you're interested, that way we all know real time what everyone is interested in. All right, now we can move on. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President.
Yes, Brian?
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second? Gina seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all.